Thank you so much. Hello. Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here because I found out that today is the first time that Indonesia has such an event, the unleashing of Indonesia's AI sovereignty. And I like that word sovereignty. That means we have to be powerful, we have to be supreme. And today we have three amazing guests to talk with us, to discuss with us about this AI. So obviously AI is not supposed to be just a buzzword that we hear and we use and we throw about casually, but it has to be something that is really meaningful. How can it help all industries across Indonesia, even worldwide? How can it boost our economy? How can it upgrade our workforce? How can it impact lives? What opportunities are there? What challenges are there as well? And today, the topic is AI ecosystems and the path to future excellence. My name is Grace Tahir. I'm the director of MyPad Healthcare Group. In our hospital, we also have to start considering and actually have been using AI as well, and founder of Everest Media. So today, let me just invite our three distinguished speakers and guests. I think their experience and credibility will truly help us in understanding AI better today. So first off, kita panggil ya, Ibu Iren Umar, Wakil Menteri Ekonomi Kreatif. Next, kita ada Ibu Fanli Tanto, Country Director of Google Cloud Indonesia. Dan of course, Profesor Hamam Riza, Presiden daripada Korika. Ini Pak duduknya sebetulnya agak off ya, karena kayak nggak bisa kelihatan semuanya ya. Wait, let me just squish this a little bit here. No, actually you stay. I'm going to push this back so I can see you guys. There you go. All right, so thank you so much, guys, for coming. I'm very casual about this, but I do want to get into a deep dive of what AI can do for our country. Nah, saya akan nyampur-nyampur bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris, kayak Jaksel style, if you don't mind. Tapi ini begini, the point is this, like I said just now, you know, AI has been used often, like especially this year. I know a lot of companies like to say, I have AI technology, right, to sound cool or advanced, right? But we have to realize, whether it's a buzzword or not, AI is going to be a crucial factor everywhere in the world across industries. In fact, it could, you know, boost our GDP by 12% by 2030. But of course, there are issues that we have to discuss today: governance, government policies, how to improve the workforce, right? Technology development, data, all of these things. So today, first of all, I'm just going to ask this question to three of you. Short answer from you guys. In the private sector, is AI a nice to have or a must have this year? Go ahead, Bu.
Short answer, it is a must have.
Must have. Prof?
Definitely must have.
Must have.
Mandatory.
Mandatory. Urgently ya, Prof ya? All right. Untuk Bu Iren ya, saya tanya ya. What are the most important factors to get right for Indonesia to realize the potential of AI? Considering that, you know, this creative economy which you are heading will contribute significantly to Indonesia's GDP.
Yeah, so for me, creative economy is the new engine of growth. And when we talk about creative economy, one thing that I'm very close to is the world of gaming and movie making. So in the world of gaming, for example, game development, it usually requires a lot of time. But right now, the same game, I put in AI, within 5 minutes, the code is speed up, right? And a new game could be created within the next 5 minutes. So the good news is that in Indonesia, a small percentage of, actually a significant percentage of the gaming industry have started adopting AI because they feel that, hey, it makes my life a lot easier. And when we go into the advertising sector, they have started using it as well. But we have to be realistic because we have to make sure that the youth of Indonesia, every single person here that is sitting here, take out your phone, that is a very powerful device, use it familiarize yourself with it, because we are at the age where in the past we were wondering, how do we search something in Google, right? Right now, it's about having that clarity of thoughts, knowing exactly what you want and feeding into the AI so that they can give you what you want. So that clarity of thoughts is very much needed, and Indonesians needs to have that, because a lot of Indonesians like, "Hai, apa aja oke deh, boleh," gitu toh. We cannot do that. Like, I want that, and then AI can give you what. Be careful of what you wish for, and now that age is here, so be firm with what you wish for.
You know, when you talk about creative economy, so one of the things will be actual social media. And we know that a lot of these famous platforms in Indonesia obviously are not made in Indonesia or even based in Indonesia. So what is the danger in terms of data that's been used so popular in Indonesia? For example, TikTok is number one, Indonesia is number one for user, right? But we know that that data actually is being used for AI capability somewhere else, right? So how dangerous is that actually? And as users, what should we watch out for?
I think it could be, here's my personal thoughts on it, right? Data security is one thing, and that's why I was sitting over there, and we have, as a government, we need to put in the policy that protects the country but not restricts innovations. We need to make sure that it promotes and create an ecosystem that will push up innovations from within and beyond. Should we say no to every foreign technology? I don't think we should, because that's a very good way for us to learn from the others about what new technology is out there. We need to be at the freaking forefront of the whole thing. One thing of doing that is that to attract companies like NVIDIA, for example, to set up office here in Indo, and so the talents around NVIDIA could learn from it, and then having an ecosystem within the country, or a sandbox, that safe environment for entrepreneurs and for innovators to thrive, that is what's important. By us having the hotline saying no to a foreign entity simply because it's foreign will be a bit too close-minded, because for us as a country, it's no longer the fight is no longer about at country level, it's global level. Right now, the issues that we are facing are globals. As all of us, multinational companies, bilateral companies, you know, the diplomacies, right, from the government itself, it needs a collective efforts to solve global problems. So I would put humanity first, and that is a must for us to solve real problems, not to create problems to be solved so that we look cool. There are a lot of problems for us to solve.
Thank you. Okay, Bu Fanli, yeah. As a people leader, and of course Google, you know, employs a lot of Indonesians in their offices here. How should organizations prepare their workforce for the new age of AI? Now, this is very interesting. People are scared, right? AI is going to replace them. What do you think?
Okay, thank you, Bu Grace. So first of all, in Google, we believe that AI is actually to complement. So the humans can be doing what they are doing best, which is to do creative things and to do all this complex processing. So yang kita lakukan, mungkin ya campur-campur ya ngomongnya ya, yang kita lakukan nih di Google nih, bagaimana kita bisa menghadapi semua challenges yang ada, terutama di lacking of resources, di agriculture, di healthcare, dan juga di education. Mungkin saya kasih contoh nih, two things, how Google is helping in the area of AI. Nah, yang pertama, ada rekrutmen bersama BUMN. Waktu itu di dalam rekrutmen bersama BUMN itu ada 2 juta, 2 million applicants, and each applicants they have at least 10 pages. You're talking about their CV, there is also their resume and everything and all their identifications. Nah, dulu sebelum adanya AI, mereka takes time to do all of these manual processings. Ada juga identification terhadap OCR-nya dari sebelumnya banyak error, dari 50%, it grows to over 95%. Bukan itu juga, ada lagi tambahannya di mana cost-nya juga berkurang dengan adanya otomasi itu. Jadi sebelumnya mereka untuk processing in such that timeline cuma bisa 2 juta, sekarang bisa 4 juta dan so much with just 10% of resource. Itu yang pertama. Yang nomor 2, kita bekerja sama dengan GovTech di mana kita membuat e-katalog di LKPP. Nah, di e-katalog LKPP itu ada total 300.000 sellers. Bagaimana AI bisa mengidentifikasikan tentang fair price terhadap produk. Dan juga ada 5 juta produk di dalam e-katalog itu. Dan AI membantu untuk nilai TKDN-nya. Nah, dari situ kita melihat AI itu bukan IT tools. AI itu is for industries, for everyone. Jadi adopsi bukan hanya dari satu divisi, tapi we are talking about company wide. We are talking about di mana gapnya. Di Google kita memberikan pelatihan Cloud Skill Boost yang diberikan on demand training secara at no cost. Kita juga bekerja sama dengan Komdigi di mana kita memberikan ke 21 hire ke university untuk edukasi dari mereka di universitas. Kita juga bekerja sama dengan Korika untuk ASN di kementerian dan masih banyak lagi. Tentu saja kembali lagi itu bukan IT tools tapi untuk semua industri.
Okay, so maybe I'll have the follow-up question because just now you said a lot of your applicants for jobs kan sekarang difilter, help by AI, correct? So is it also a dangerous thing or maybe it's a good thing that future applicants try to use AI to hack their CV in a very non-personalized way? Because like people can do that now with AI. So I mean, is that also the danger to that, the dehumanization of the applications?
Sebenarnya AI, there will be smarter and smarter. Tapi kita juga sebagai manusia, kita yang menciptakan AI tersebut. Jadi kita juga harus smarter and smarter. Tapi saya tadi mau nambahin satu poin lagi, di mana dengan adanya era AI ini, dengan ada lagi new, kan menggantikan human, beberapa menggantikan human, tapi ada new role yang kita dulunya belum ada. Ya, Chief AI Officer, Chief Sustainability Officer, ada prompt engineer sekarang. Ya.
But the jobs that you mentioned are quite, I would say, very highly skilled jobs. Yeah, like Chief AI, things like that. Or how about the, lebih yang entry levels?
Oleh karena itu, we give the pelatihan nih Bu Grace. Nah, pelatihan ini bisa diakses on demand at no cost nih.
Right, that's awesome. So, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Bu Erin.
So, here's the thing, right? AI is something. It's like another humans, right? But they need to go to school, and they need someone to teach them. And guess who's the teachers? It's all of us. Dalam bahasa Indonesia, AI will not know ini kacamata, ini meja, ini pentas. Yang bisa ngajarin itu siapa? Us. And Indonesia have the wealth of humans, almost 300 million people, Bu. Jadi it's starting from, kalau kita ngomongin AI itu, a lot of people always think the high tech, but they forget like there's also the low tech elements. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, if you have your kids, right, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, my kids are suddenly so smart. They finish their homework so fast. You know what? They might be using AIs. And I can tell you, a lot of kids are great adopters. They are using AIs right now. And right now, the teachers are having headache. And they need to have something untuk meng-identify, is this homework done by an AI or humans? But it's a good news. Why? Because our kids now become more creative. They get ChatGPT to do 80% of the work. And then they look at it, okay, my teachers is gonna know that this is an AI, so I need to tweak it a little bit. So it's really good for the younger generations, but it's for people like us to catch up later.
Oh, as a mother, I know what you're talking about. It's definitely a challenging time. Maybe back to Bu Fanlia. Jadi for companies now, how can they foster the mindset to adapt and to continuously learn, right, among their teams to thrive in this AI-driven world? Because, for example, in a hospital, we know that every time there's a change in terms of digital transformation, the mindset is very hard to change. So what's your advice about this?
I think yang pertama Bu Grace, kita harus melihat kalau ini dari semua lini. Jadi dari top management, dari industri, mereka harus menyadari the importance of the AI itself. Nah, saya juga melihat di mana kita harus ada ekosistem untuk kita semua nih. Jadi ekosistemnya itu seperti apa yang dilakukan, kita itu harus build di mana ada government yang mendukung, terus dari kita dari teknologi bagaimana kita bisa mendukung, dari komunitas bagaimana kita bisa mendukung, dan semuanya itu harus kita sama-sama untuk supaya semua peran ini untuk empowering Indonesia gitu. Itu harus disadari semuanya.
But I would also kind of maybe note yang Profesor bilang urgently needed ya, mandatory.
Right.
So mau nggak mau harus ya,
Yeah.
Prof ya. Okay, well, last question ya Bu ya. What roles or skills do you see as becoming essential for a future AI-ready workforce, and how can organizations cultivate these specific roles and skills?
Can you repeat?
Okay, what roles or skills do you see as becoming essential for a future AI-ready workforce? Like specific skills-nya itu apa saja yang diperlukan, dipersiapkan untuk masa depan?
Skills-nya itu what workforce? It's not in the list kalau pertanyaan ini, jadi saya nggak prepare. Anyway, jadi skills apa yang harus dipersiapkan itu juga dari sekarang ini, let's say that you are in the industries, misalnya legal, ya kan? Then you have the AI in place. Nah, bagaimana legal orang yang mempunyai capability di legal mempunyai bisa berperan serta. Nah, tadi kan Ibu Iren juga cerita ya, kalau misalnya kita jadi bisa mengidentifikasikan untuk menjadi prompting bagaimana kita bisa, contoh nih di Google, kalau kita ada legal agreement, kita bisa melihat apakah legal agreement ini itu berbeda dengan, apakah ada coincide, ada perbedaan di mana kita tidak membuat rules atau klausa yang berbeda. Nah, skills itu biasanya kita berikan dan ada di tadi berupa training yang kita berikan, terus dengan bekerja sama dengan universitas. Saya juga mau tambahin, kita berikan semua kurikulum di Bangkit, Akademi, dengan Komdigi, terus dengan BSSN, dengan Korika, dan banyak-banyak lagi.
Thank you, Bu. Prof, now it's your turn.
Okay.
Okay. So of course there are benefits to AI to the society, to our economy, to Indonesia, right? But what is the safe and responsible AI ecosystem? What kind of approach that we need to have towards this safe and responsible AI ecosystems?
Well, that is really difficult questions.
Must answer, Prof.
Tapi saya akan mau ambil take dari apa yang tadi sudah disampaikan oleh Bu Vanli ya. Jadi AI is more than just a tool. Ya. Dari sejak awal kita mempersiapkan strategi nasional kecerdasan artifisial. We really understood that AI is more than just a tool. It is a catalyst. It is an engine of growth, actually, especially for the economy, right? So this ripple effects from integrating AI into our economy will really impact every corner of the society. So I think it is more important for AI to basically create jobs rather than job displacement, as well as increase our GDP. So I want to take you back to 2020, where actually we have visioned this, the first slide. I brought with me some of the slides here, right? Okay. Indonesia Vision 2045, and that exactly what our AI national strategy was visioning, AI toward Indonesia 2045. Dan kalau kita lihat sekarang visi Indonesia Emas yang ada di RPJP, ya, rencana pembangunan jangka panjang Indonesia, itu memang menempatkan bagaimana AI itu menjadi pendorong, ya, dari pertumbuhan ekonomi. Ada, karena judulnya di sini adalah AI ekosistem, jadi saya ingin share kepada Grace sama Bapak Ibu semua, rekan-rekan, ada 4 fokus area yang harus kita lakukan. Dan ini exactly menjadi forward challenge-nya bagi kita. Termasuk tadi yang disampaikan oleh Grace, yaitu ethics and responsible AI, explainable AI, how do we build the AI sovereignty by having this really all effort on the data and infrastructures, on talent development, as well as in research and industrial innovations gitu. Karenanya memang tidak ada jalan lain bagi kita untuk mencapai pertumbuhan 8% katakan, ya. 25% daripada unsur pertumbuhan ekonomi kita itu akan datang dari digital economy, ya. And everyone is betting on this. It's just the digital economy that can enable this Visi Indonesia 2045, where we will achieve our, top tier of global economy. Yeah. Nah, jadi karenanya Bapak Ibu, Indonesia needs AI for economic growth. There is no doubt that we must, take our digital transformation journey into AI transformations for economic development. I'm really excited at this moment. We are not certainly ready for many things. I have prepared this one slide for our development framework in digital ecosystem, since we are talking about AI ecosystem and the future path. So research and innovation, talent development, data, infrastructures, and governance, and we are happy that Indosat is taking this very seriously by having the compute infrastructures. I am happy to work with Lintas Arta on providing the GPU for developing AI use cases, as well as AI adoption in industry and government. That's why, Ibu Grace, if I may, we try this with Google, with the AI Singapore, try to build the sovereign large language model on Southeast Asia languages, language in one network. And we are very proud of this because it shows that we are walk the talk. It is not just a concept of having sovereign large language model, take for example, as well as really developing this large language model. So there are 3 things that I think to answer your question for call for the actions of not only related to ethicals and governance. We have done the AI readiness assessment, collaborating with UNESCO and with ComDG, to basically map out what are really the worries of our people in terms of AI adoption. And mostly it's about safety and security. So we are happy that we are part of the team that talks about AI safety. Not only towards the global north, but in fact it's a global south-south cooperations on ethical and policy. So 3 things here, I want to, for all of you to take as a note, as a takeaways, provision of AI use cases. We need all of you. We need, just like Bu Irene was saying, right? We have millions of digital talents that should be ready. Upskilling, reskilling the current workforce. We need to address the labor market in terms of the AI adoptions. We certainly need investment and funding for AI research and innovations, as well as we need to drive the motivations for AI innovation and startups. Ya, AI buatan Indonesia, itu yang kita cita-citakan. Dan itulah artinya sovereign AI itu sesungguhnya. That's it, Bu. Terima kasih.
Okay. Prof, one more question ya. Because we know ada bias even with AI. Sorry, Google Gemini kan kemarin ini ada kasus ya, di mana hasilnya racist kan ya. So how can organization or developers build AI systems that prioritize transparency and inclusivity in their design implementation?
Yes, that certainly relates to the availability of data, the quality of data. In terms of bias and non-discrimination, it is part of the ethical AI. We understood. Malah kita mengatakan bahwa semua prinsip-prinsip yang ada di Pancasila ya, sebagai ideologi kita, itu adalah prinsip-prinsip dasar yang juga diadopt sebagai human rights, gitu. Transparansi, kemudian ada inclusivity, tidak sara, ya. Jadi semua itu memerlukan ketelitian kita mempersiapkan data. Nah, masalahnya kan kita sekarang ini banyak menggunakan AI, generative AI terutama, gitu, yang merupakan black box. We don't know sourcing daripada data tersebut. Karenanya lah kita ingin mendorong penggunaan open source, large language model, dan kita kemudian fine tuning dengan data-data yang kita miliki sehingga beberapa kekhawatiran halusinasi, bias, diskriminasi itu bisa kita atasi dengan kita mendalami apa yang kita gunakan untuk mentrain, membangun model AI tersebut.
Kayaknya mau di-defend nih.
Oh iya dong, harus tambahin.
Go ahead Bu, silakan.
Harus tambahin nih. Nah, memang kalau kita sudah dengar yang namanya seperti itu tuh namanya halusinasi, ya kan? Berhalusinasi, AI berhalusinasi. Nah, dengan itu Google kita menambah tuh satu feature. Jadi satu feature-nya itu adalah grounding. Nah, grounding. Jadi ada feature yang namanya grounding di Google, di mana begitu pengguna menggunakan Vertex AI, Gemini, nah mereka bisa ground. Groundnya itu berupa, ini groundnya dari data yang sudah disediakan. Data company misalnya, data perusahaan, hanya di ground dari hasil yang itu, jadi nggak keluar kemana-mana. Nomor 2, bisa di ground dari resultnya Google Search. Nah, yang ketiga bisa juga di ground di third party API. Nah, karena AI ini kita journey, bukan one off, a lot of error ke depannya yang kita pelajari sama-sama. Oleh karena itu kita sangat menyadari itu tuh Bu Grace. Nah, jadi kita bekerja sama dengan IOH, dengan Indosat sebagai the first AI Teko. Jadi selain dengan First AI Teko bersama IOH dan Lintas Arta tentunya. Yang kedua, kita juga build dengan Indosat the first sovereign cloud partner. Karena kita menyadari sovereignty is important. Nah itu, jadi
Oh, ngapa saya pakai itu kok? Saya a big fan of Google. Even my phone is Google Pixel phone.
oh thank you.
I use Google Gemini as well. Actually, when we talk about the whole thing about, what's it called, the ethical part of AI, I think we can go deep dive into it, which we don't have time today. But it's an interesting conversation. Maybe we can have another time, ya Bu ya. Okay, maybe a question for all the panelists. I'll start with you, Bu ya. of course, to be able to have AI to work all sectors in Indonesia, we need such a strong collaboration between the government and the private sectors, right? Even organizations. Can you give us some successful examples from overseas or maybe existing in Indonesia that Indonesia can learn from? And what did those efforts, why did those efforts become effective? Is there an example, role model that you can maybe share?
There is an example from US. So in the US system, they have teachers, right? And so the teachers are paid differently depending on what classes they teach, and there are certain rules that guides it. In Indonesia, we call this undang-undang. The lawyers love undang-undang. I'm not a lawyer background. I look at the undang-undang, I'm like, what is this? So what happened that over there is that every day they receive a lot of calls from the teachers asking, why am I not paid this much? Why is that missing? Why is this missing, right? And before, it took a human to go and search through all the rules and regulations. I mean, if it's frequently asked question, you can answer it straight away. But then if it's not, especially with hundreds of variables, it's tough, right? And so with the infusion of AI, what happened then, the first level is that when inputs come in, immediately they search through a whole bunch of undang-undang and take out the undang-undang and come up with these calculations. The reason why this person is not, because when they come in, you need to have a hook, right? It's identifier, oh, I'm teacher ID number 123456. With that, the data then will be able to grab the teacher's profile and then match it to whatever that's the regulation and spit out an information that makes sense, right? So we all say that data is just data, right? I mean, those are just numbers. We got to see how to process it into meaningful informations. With the presence of supercomputer, it now makes it possible. Supercomputer is powered by, that's why NVIDIA's presence is important today to build supercomputer, because we need the chip to power it, right? And by the way, it started from gaming. Anyway, and so with that, then it reduces the number of calls that comes in significantly, right? By actually, I forgot the exact number. If I'm not mistaken, it reduces at least by 90%. And as a result of response time, and as a result of that, it also drives efficiency. Now, if I'm speaking alien language, I'm sorry. But let me try to make it simpler. I know there are a lot of concerns about AIs, right? But think of it this way, whether or not an AI is racist or not racist, it depends on us as an input. So if we look at our child, that's the product of both parents. Your AI is the product of us. And AI is not singular. Every single one of us, we can build multiple agents. What is agents? It's an extension of us. All of us, we hope that I wish there's more than 24 hours a day, right? All of us wish that, I wish there is a Kantong Doraemon that I can take out all the tools and I can be anywhere. With AI, now you can, because what you have to do is take out a piece of you and train that AI. I am a chief editor of a magazine, and you, agent, have to think this way. So you feed in the perimeters. You spend a couple of hours, just like how you spend with your kids, right? That AI agent will be a part of your persona that could be used. In the past, right, Japanese have been obsessed with the robot culture. There are even scientists that try to clone themselves so that the robot can live beyond their lifetime. With the infusion of AI, with the basic knowledge, just like a kid, they can develop their own thoughts. And imagine if you can duplicate yourself without cloning and crowding the planet, how amazing is that gonna be, right? So when you start from that mindset, right, then AI become less scary. For adoption of technology in Indonesia, you ask about jobs. I mean, you ask about what we should do. Very simple, change of mindset. That's something that we do not know, we should know. Indonesians like to say, tak kenal maka tak sayang. Tapi yang disayang itu selektif. We gotta embrace Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, semuanya disayang. Because my dad always tells me, you cannot hate a person, anyone in the world, if you know their life story. And so let's all do the same to AI and any new technology that comes in, because with that change of mindset, we Indonesia, trust me, we will be the new engine of growth. And especially all of us are creative people, right? We don't like to work. And with AI, we don't have to work. We just need to make sure we can use them. Yeah.
That's very wise. I like what your father said. Mungkin buat Bu Fanli saya agak sedikit tweak ya. Jadi if you look at the government or the private sector, which one do you think actually should take the initial leap?
Which one?
The government or the private sector, which one do you think should take the initial leap to do, to implement, to deploy AI? Do you think the private sector should wait for the government first, or the government, or the government should go first? What do you think?
I think it's both sides. It's both sides, both private sectors and it's also government. And it's not only private sector or government, but we, the technologies, and also the communities, and for everyone also need to participate, Bu Grace. Ya.
That's it? Oh.
Aku sebenarnya,
Itu langsung collaboration.
aku sebenarnya mau kasih contoh tadi kan
Boleh, go ahead,
tentang
go ahead,
AI
Bu.
ya. Saya tadi lihat Bu Catherine, boleh cerita sedikit ya tentang AI. Jadi at once Gojek GoPay came to us and bilang, kita mau voice untuk melakukan action. Lalu saya tanya, untuk apa ya gitu? Maksudnya is it nice to have ataukah apakah ada yang untuk apa gitu? Oh, do you know ini bisa untuk inclusivity. Do you know kalau misalnya banyak orang tua kita nih yang mungkin belum ngerti tentang, belum tahu cara pakai aplikasi, ini bisa mempermudah untuk memberikan inclusivity buat yang mungkin nggak bisa baca tulis gitu. Jadi mereka tinggal, hey, can you help to transfer this? Can you do this? Can you do that? So this peranan AI ini bisa membantu bukan hanya untuk additional kayak super feature, kayak misalnya nice to have things, but this is for inclusiveness. Dan masih banyak lagi di industri-industri lainnya, cuman saya mau share seperti itu aja.
Thank you, thank you. Prof, again, my question again, I tweak it personally to you because you're such an academia. I mean, like, look at your, your academic background is so impressive. Yeah, kan? Now you're a professor as well. What role should academia actually prioritize to maximize the benefits of AI?
Very good question, and I think that's really the frontier at this time. Akademia tentu saja menjadi kurator ya dari dan inovator sebenarnya. Dia menciptakan, they create innovators in the universities, in the schools, and many other kelembagaan. Jadi akademia bertanggung jawab untuk membangun talenta yang sudah siap dengan AI ini. Dan itu bisa dimulai dari a very young ages. So it's good that we heard about the minister is coming along to start AI educations di kelas 4 SD ya, gitu. Ya, itu I think that's really a strong gesture ya. How we can adopt AI. Dan karenanya akademia juga harus menjadi pihak yang betul-betul membawa Indonesia itu bisa memenangkan global AI race. Karena akademia lah yang melaksanakan riset, melaksanakan pengembangan, mencetak, dan mengajarkan dan membangun sumber daya manusia kita. Ya, tentu saja yang kita bicarakan di sini adalah bagaimana AI itu betul-betul menjadi teknologi yang bisa dimanfaatkan dengan sebaiknya. Bukan arti bahwa kita semua harus jadi pengembang AI, bukan. Tapi kita harus menjadi responsible user dari AI tersebut ya, begitu kan? Sehingga tidak ada kekhawatiran untuk malicious use of AI gitu, atau munculnya systemic risk karena tidak adanya AI literacy, itu ingin kita hindari dan ingin kita manage dari sejak di bangku pendidikan termasuk oleh para akademisi. Saya kira demikian.
Thanks, Prof. Okay, last question, Bu Iren. How do you see the creative economy as a new growth engine impacting Indonesia's global competitiveness, and how can AI become integrated in this specific sector? I think you kind of alluded to some of that just now, but please go ahead again.
Thank you for that, Grace. Indonesians are all creative people, right? And it's not only on the digital side, but it also, we all like to sing. We all like to wine and dine, right? Or we like to serve people. It all comes from the heart. And that is a part of creativity. Now, where are we now? We are at the stage where Indonesia is actually recognized globally as for our creativity in terms of products. We have real tangible products that we have shown the world. Last week itself, I can't disclose who won, but then there are 2 companies that have won in Asia level. In Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, Indonesian games have actually made it there. So we do have real products that's there. It's not that we don't. It's all about, in creative economy, we are a new ministry. And so my job is to consolidate all these powerhouses to showcase to the world, hey, we're not that bad, you know. And imagine that. These are all powered by human beings. You put AI into it, we've got 300 people, ladies and gentlemen, right? Imagine each of us just train 2 AIs, right? 2 agents. We multiply ourselves into 2. We'll be almost 1 billion people, manpower. Imagine the powerhouse that we have, and the inherent creativity that we have is because of our, well, we like to sort of sit down and have coffee and have a chat, right? The true creativity comes from there. It doesn't come from crunching books. I need to be creative, let me be creative. It doesn't work that way. It comes from chilling out. It comes from, in the young population right now, I need healing, right? You'll be surprised. Through those healing sessions, there are things that comes up. I think I should create a movie and do this, right? The question is, when you have that moment, you have the tools available, which is AI. But I said mindset because the next biggest hurdle is, because ideas are cheap, right? Everybody have the ideas. But the question is, do you have the courage to try and fail and try again and fail and have that grit to make it at the top? We as the government, we try to support, but it all starts from each individuals. So I urge every single youth, like games, if you game over, what do? You immediately press restart. Implement that to our lives, because we will be the superpower in the world if we can do that, because we have the power of our creativity that is inherent to our culture, because we just like to chill, right? At the same time, we have the power of number. Our population is huge. 50% of Southeast Asia, ladies and gentlemen, is Indonesia. Let us not be the target customer base, but let us be the creative powerhouse to ship out great products, because you know what? We have it inside us. We can be humble. We are all humble inherently. But let's step into the light together. I know we are all shy. I'll step into the light together with you.
Oh, that's awesome. You got to give a round of applause to Bu Iren. So I think the takeaway, AI is mandatory, is urgently required these days. Don't be scared of it, but embrace it. Like you said, I like that last word you said just now. You know, if it's game over, you reset, you try again. Basically, just be open and learn a lot about AI. Thank you so much to you all. This is such an amazing session. I hope that all of you also got a lot of insight from these 3 speakers. I think we're going to do a photo session. Can I have the media come to the front and take a picture of our speakers? Sorry, okay, I think, is that a camera? I cannot even see. Wait.